Prior to your visit, the day that you have it scheduled, you want to call the caregiver back to confirm your appointment. So whether that's via a phone call or text or email, really however the caregiver prefers to have contact, you want to contact that caregiver prior to the scheduled home visit just to confirm the appointment and remind them that all household members must be present. Hopefully everything will go as planned and they will confirm your visit and you will move on. But if for some reason they do cancel the appointment or you get out to the home and they no-show you, you need to immediately notify the coordinator in your QM again that all household members were not available or they canceled their appointment prior to the date, and so that we can notify DFPS on our end. Once you've confirmed your visit, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to go out to the home and you're going to conduct your home assessment. The contract requires that you interview all members of the home, age 3 and older, who are developmentally capable of participating in an interview. Now, if you have a child who is not developmentally capable or an adult who's not developmentally capable of participating in an interview, then you want to document very clearly your observations and specifically what the challenges were that prevented the interview from occurring. It's always a good idea, although it's not required as part of the contract, to interview the couple jointly in order to assess their marriage, their communication, their unspoken and spoken rules and roles in the home, and how they parent. A family interview should also be completed with all household members living in the home. And some of the things that you can utilize as part of the family interview would be questions regarding their family structure, activities they enjoy together, their support system, their motivations as a family, and you can also implement a specific tool in order to observe their interactions, their communication, their roles, their rules, time and space dimensions, and things like that. So, example, you might ask the family to pretend that they have just won the lottery and they can take a family vacation of their choice to anywhere that they would like to go. And you would let them know, for the next 5 minutes, I want y'all to take time as a family to plan that family vacation. Where would you go? What would you do? Who would be responsible for what? When would you leave? And then basically as the assessor, you would just sit back and observe that process. How do they communicate? Who takes charge? Who is more passive? Who's more aggressive? How much say do the children have in that process? And so all of those things you're documenting. Or you could ask them to plan a family menu. What I want you guys to do is to plan a menu or a meal that you guys would all enjoy eating together. The only requirements are that it consists of 1 meat, 2 vegetables, a bread, a dessert, and a beverage. And so again, you're going to sit back and watch that process emerge. Where does the meal take place? Who's responsible for preparing the meal? What specifically are they going to eat? And how do they make those decisions together as a family? Do you observe any conflict that emerges as a result of them trying to decide on, what the menu is? So all of those things you would document to kind of get an overall picture of who the family is. Then you're also going to do a walkthrough of the home, inside and outside. So you do want to walk the perimeter of the home to be sure that there's no standing water or holes that a child could fall into or boards with splinters or nails sticking out. So you want to be sure, that the home appears safe for children. You also, as part of the interview process, you want to be sure that you're interviewing everyone 3 and older individually and separately. So if that means, going into a bedroom and leaving the door open or stepping outside on the back porch so that you have some privacy and the child or the family member feel as if they can share with you openly, that's the best practice. And then don't forget to have all household members age 18 and older sign the kinship release of information form. You want to be very sure that you're getting that, as that is a contract requirement and must be submitted with your final home study. The release of information form is located on the SkyDrive and can be printed off prior to the visit and taken with you. Also, don't forget to leave the survey in an addressed, stamped envelope for the caregiver to complete after you leave. Basically, the survey is what they fill out regarding how they think the visit went, your professionalism, your punctuality, and things like that. And then also you want to provide the family with the kinship manual that's also located on the SkyDrive if you didn't email it to them prior to the visit. After you've assessed the family, you've interviewed everyone separately and individually, you've completed the walkthrough of the home, you can conclude your visit. And then your next step is going to be to type up the kinship study and the risk assessment tool. You want to be sure always that you're using the correct template for the region requesting the study, so that can be found on the SkyDrive. You want to be sure that you're completing the risk assessment tool with regards to the caregiver's home and not the reasons the CPS child came into custody or their particular situation. You want to be sure that anything that you identified as risk in the home that you're also capturing not only in the kinship study template, but also in the risk assessment tool. You want to utilize the de-identified study that is on the SkyDrive to find appropriate wording for certain sections, and you want to be very sure that you're speaking to each individual prompt or italicized text as you're typing up the study. So anything that is listed in the italicized text needs to be addressed, since that is what DFPS uses as a checklist to ensure that all standards and areas of the study have been addressed. If you're typing up the study and you determine that there are some areas that you forgot to obtain, don't be afraid to contact the family back to obtain that additional information. And always know that you can ask your QM when you're in need of direction or assistance as you're typing up that study. There's also a kinship questionnaire available on the SkyDrive. That's been very helpful to a lot of the assessors as they go out to the homes. The questionnaire is good about breaking down your interview questions depending on the type of interview. So if you're interviewing caregiver number 1, it'll provide you with specific questions in order to assess their childhood history, their motivation, their previous relationship history, their current marriage. It'll assess their substance use and abuse history, their child abuse history, and any criminal background issues, etc., and their physical, mental, and emotional health. So you can use that specific kinship questionnaire tool to gain the information and insights that you need. Same thing, there's questions that go into details that you could use in a joint interview as you're assessing their marriage, their financial stability, how they parent, how they discipline, their support system, privacy issues in the home, and things like that. And then there's also some questions you can utilize in a family interview setting. After you've typed up the study, you want to be real sure that the kinship study is typed in Word, the risk assessment tool is typed in Word, and that you have scanned your release of information signed by all household members age 18 and older into a PDF file. So when you submit that final study to your QM, there should be 3 attachments. Again, the kinship study in Word, the risk assessment tool in Word, and the release of information scanned into a PDF document. Studies are always due to the QM by 4 p.m. on the date indicated on your assignment email, unless otherwise arranged with your QM. The timelines are extremely important and should be followed unless you previously worked that out with your QM and agreed upon a date that the study could be submitted. Because we are a performance-based contract, we do have requirements in order to specific times and dates that we have to submit that study to DFPS, or we are penalized financially, and it affects our performance measures. Once you've submitted that final study to your QM, normally they will review that study, the release of information, and the risk assessment tool within 24 hours, and then they'll return to you for any needed revisions. So it's very important that you follow up with them regarding what corrections and revisions are needed within a specific time frame. You want to make the requested revisions that they've indicated in your study, and then return to them within 24 hours or sooner when needed to meet the deadlines. Make sure all of the revisions are completed in the attachment that they've sent to you, and you want to be sure that you're forwarding, the correct study back to them with the revisions that have been made. Don't forget to insert your electronic signature at the end of your study. Basically, that's how you have signed off on the study as the assessor. Again, you can't print that study off and sign with a pen. You need to sign electronically and then submit the study back to your QM via a Word attachment. Be sure you track your assignments in some form after you've completed them so that they can be paid out. Every month, our financial department will send an email to you as a subcontractor with the studies that have been accepted and paid out by the department, meaning that we will turn around and pay you. So be sure that you are checking that email and reviewing that specific information to ensure there's no discrepancies and all the studies that you have completed that have been paid out by DFPS are paid to you within a specific time frame. Payment is usually received within anywhere from 60 to 90 days. And so you want to be making sure that you receive